Did you know that WordPress powers 43% of all websites on the internet? It's the most popular website building platform in the world. But if you're new to WordPress, it might be confusing for first-time users, just like it was for me. But don't worry, I got you all. Today in this video, I'll explain the basics of WordPress and show you all how to make a WordPress website step by step. In this tutorial, you will have access to hundreds of free professional templates that me and my team personally developed from the ground up. We will be using a brand new free theme. You simply select the template that you would like to import. You then adjust the color palette, click imports, and the entire website is ready to go in a few seconds. Also, have you heard about Elementor? You probably have at some points. Elementor has become the #1 most popular drag and drop page builder for WordPress. Elementor's drag and drop functionality makes it incredibly easy for even beginners to create professional looking websites. You simply click on an element, drag it onto the page, and build the website exactly the way you want. It's as simple as moving elements around a screen. And the best part, it's completely free to use. So in this video, I'll walk you through how to use WordPress and also use the #1 most popular drag and drop page builder for WordPress. Now we're gonna build your website in 5 simple steps. In step 1, we'll get our domain and hosting. A domain is the name of your website, like mycoolbusiness.com, and web hosting will host your website online 24 hours a day. In step 2, we'll import a starter template. You will have access to a variety of free templates available in various niches. I'll walk you through how to import a starter template on your brand new WordPress websites. In step 3, we'll design the website with Elementor. I will walk you through how to design the website using the Elementor page builder. I'll go through each option and explain in detail how to use this page builder.
In step 4, the WordPress theme customizer.
Every theme for WordPress has a theme customizer. I'll show you how to use the theme customizer to adjust various parts of your websites. In step 5, wrap it up. I'll show you how to use some of the hosting or options and show you how to create a free business email for your websites. So how does that sound, party people? Good? All right. Now there is a link in the description of this video. It'll take you to section 1, and that is to get your new domain and web hosting. And this is Hostinger.com. Now Hostinger.com is among one of the fastest web hosts, yet also the most affordable in the industry. Now, before we go on to the plans, here at the top, you'll see this banner with this English tab. If English is not your first language, you can actually switch to your native language right here. For example, if you speak Thai or Portuguese or Italian or Japanese, you can pick your native language and the entire website will adjust to your native language. So once you get here, let's go ahead and click on Claim Deal. This will bring you to 4 different pricing options. We have the Premium, Business, Cloud Startup, and the Cloud Professional. Now, I definitely recommend going with the Business plan. This gives you access to more visitors, and it also includes a free CDN, which will speed up your website 40% faster than the Premium options. If you find yourself with a lot more traffic later down the road, you can always upgrade to the Cloud Startup or the Cloud Professional, where it does give you access to a little bit more visitors compared to these other plans. But to get started out with, let's go ahead and select the business plan. So right here under business, I'll click on choose plan. So the next page is the cart page, and now we'll select a period for our web hosting. So right here under the arrow, I'll click on the arrow, and I definitely recommend signing up for 12 months. This will qualify you for a free domain. You'll also get a large hosting discount and a free 30-day money back guarantee for any reason whatsoever. Now on the right side, you'll see have a coupon code. Go ahead and click on this link. Now, right now, Hostinger is having their Black Friday sale, but we actually have a discount even bigger than their Black Friday sale. So we're gonna hook you up. So if you're watching this from maybe like 3 months from now or 4 months, don't worry, you will still get a large discount with our coupon code. If you enter the coupon code Daryl10 and click on apply, you'll see that the hosting discount increases. So here we have 77%, and I'll click on apply. And now it's 79%. Depending on the plan, you could save more depending on the length as well, but you do get the largest discount code available with Hostinger using our discount code. Once you put in the discount code, we'll then click on continue. On the next page, you'll go ahead and create an account. So you'll put in your email address, and then you'll put in a password for your Hostinger account. Once you put in these credentials, you'll then click on continue. And on the next page, you'll go ahead and fill out your billing information. So you'll put your first name, your last name, your country, and all of your billing information. I'll then click on continue. And on the next section, you'll enter in your method of payments. So you can use credit card, PayPal, Google Pay, and also Apple Pay. I'll go ahead and select card. And then I'll fill out my credit card information. Okay, so once we enter our credit card information, and you'll see we have our discount applied from our coupon code, we'll then go ahead and click on submit payment. All right, so after the payment page, it'll actually redirect us to the next page. Okay, so now we're gonna walk through the Hostinger wizard. So who is this website for? Well, it's for me or my business. I'll click on next. Do you want to create or migrate a website? I want to click on create a website and click on next. So next you'll create your login credentials, and this is what you're gonna use to log into WordPress. So make sure you write this down. You'll put in your email address and then also put in a password for WordPress, and then you'll click on next. Next, they're asking us what kind of website we want to build. We can actually click on create a blank site and skip this section. So click on create a blank site. So next you'll enter in the domain for your new website, and you get a free domain using our coupon code. So this is the domain name that people enter in the address bar when they're browsing the internet. So for example, I'll put darylstutorial.com. After we type that in, you'll see this is our free domain and it's currently available. So you'll go ahead and select your domain here, and then you'll click on next. So next we're going to register your domain, and this is important because you're claiming ownership of this domain. So is this personal or is this a company? I'll select personal. You'll then select the country of where you registered this domain. So I'll put United States, and then I'll click on next step. And next you'll enter in your contact details. This is important because this lets people know who actually owns this domain. So if you ever want to sell your domain later or something, they're always going to look at your contact details. So go ahead and put in your first name, your last name, and your contact information. And once you're done, you'll then click on finish registration. So next you'll go ahead and select a server closest to your target audience. So if you're in the Americas, you'll go ahead and select United States. If you're in Europe, you'll select Germany, or if you're in South America, you'll select Brazil. This really isn't that important because you do get free CDNs with Hostinger, and that makes copies of your website and puts it on servers all around the world. So your website will still be fast regardless of your location. But in my instance, I'll go ahead and pick Arizona right here, and then I'll click on next. So now Hostinger is going to install WordPress on our new domain. So just give this maybe like 1 or 2 minutes. And congratulations, this is now your new WordPress website. So this is Hostinger's welcome wizard where they're just saying, hey, get started with your website, and they offer some tutorials and all that cool stuff. Now, before going any further, I first want you all to check your email. So going over here to my Gmail, you're going to receive very important emails from Hostinger. The first thing that you're going to do is verify your email address. This will make sure that you are a real person, and this will actually verify your email with Hostinger. So I'll go ahead and click on verify email. Okay, and this is the Hostinger dashboard, and this is where you can access the websites, you can make free business emails, and a whole lot more. We'll talk more about the Hostinger dashboard a little bit later, but let's go ahead and go back to the email. There is one more email that we also need to click on, and that's from Hostinger as well. Here, click on inbox. You're going to want to verify your domain right here. So verify your email address to use your domain. I'll click on this, and then we'll click on verify email. So after you click on that link, our domain information has now been verified by Hostinger.com. So let's jump back to our WordPress dashboard. So here you'll see at the top, we have this preview domain. Now, in order to access your website and get out of preview mode, all you got to do is type in your domain name. So type in darylstutorial.com. And this is now your new domain where you see it's live on the internet. Now, if you ever want to log into your WordPress website, there's 2 ways to do this. You can either do this through the Hostinger dashboard. I actually do this quite often because I get very lazy and I forget passwords really easily. All you'll do is go over here to the website tab, and then you'll see your domain, and you can just click on WordPress admin, and this will log you directly into your website. And just like that, we are now logged into WordPress, and you'll see that we are now using our live domain on the internet. And if I click on visit site right here, you'll go ahead and see a copy of our websites. So next, let me show you all how to log into WordPress using your browser. So here you'll enter in your domain name, and then you'll enter -wp-admin, and this will bring you to the WordPress login screen. So I'll press enter. This is where you're going to enter in your credentials. You'll enter in your email and your password. So just remember, these are the credentials that you created when you installed WordPress. So I'll go ahead and click on Remember Me, and then I'll click on Login. So that's how you can log in and log out of WordPress, so you can work on your website from any location. So next, let's go ahead and talk about the WordPress dashboard. So here you'll go ahead and see a list of your pages. So if I click on all pages right here, you'll see a list of all of your pages. These are just demo pages, so you can just go ahead and delete these pages if you don't want them. Also for posts, the same thing for post. These are a list of all of your blog posts, and you always get this cool one called Hello World, which is just an introduction to the blog, but we can go ahead and also trash this. So I'll click on trash, and that's how you can delete pages from your websites. So let's go ahead now and jump into the important WordPress options. So let's go ahead and go over here to users and click on profile. So the first thing you can do is you can go ahead and change the backend color scheme of your websites. So if you like blue or coffee or midnights, you can go ahead and select one of these colors. I do like midnights. I feel like this is easier on the eye, right? If you scroll down, you'll see this is where you can change your email. So if you ever forget your password for WordPress, it'll always be sent to this email. So make sure you have access to it. We'll go ahead and scroll down. Now, if you ever want to change your password for WordPress, you'll go ahead and click on Set New Password, and then you'll enter in a new password for WordPress right here. Once you're done with those options, we'll then click on Update Profile. Next, let's go ahead and go over here to Settings, and let's click on General. Now, the first thing is you can give your website a name. So I'm going to put Daryl's Store, right? And then you have a tagline. This is kind of like the tagline of your website. You know how Nike has Just Do It, right? You can put a tagline if you want, or you can leave it blank. You can also upload a site icon, and this appears at the top of browsers when people visit your websites. And scrolling down, you can always adjust your email address again right here. Now, for those of you who speak various languages, you can actually change the backend of WordPress to your native language. So if you speak Chinese or Russian or Dutch or Spanish, you can go ahead and select the language right here, and the entire backend will change to your native language. Once you're done with those options, we'll then scroll to the bottom and then click on Save Changes. Okay, now there's two more options that I do want to check. Let's go ahead and click on the Discussion tab right here. Now, WordPress started off as a blog, so people typically are going to leave comments on your websites, but that's really annoying. So right here, I'll click on Allow People to Submit Comments. This typically will allow people to spam your website with like Viagra pills and all sorts of crazy stuff. So make sure you uncheck that box, scroll to the bottom, and then click on Save Changes. And the very last option before we design our website is permalinks. So right here, I'll click on permalinks. Now you always want to change the permalink structure to post name. This is optimal for SEO and it's a lot cleaner. You'll see these other links right here are really messy with the date and all this unnecessary information. Post name is actually optimal for SEO and is the best setting for your permalink structure. So go ahead and select post name, scroll to the bottom and click on Save Changes. Okay, now let's go ahead and click on our dashboard. All right, congratulations on setting up your new domain and web hosting. It's really simple, right? HostGator makes things so simple. Now in this next section, I'll walk you through the general settings, and we're also going to install a WordPress theme. Then we'll import a starter template. We'll then design the starter template and fit it to your liking. And after this section, you'll have a really nice looking WordPress website. Y'all ready? Let's go. All right, so now let me talk about quickly what are WordPress themes and plugins. First, let's go over here to plugins and click on Add New Plugin. So let me explain what is a WordPress plugin. Next, what is a WordPress plugin? WordPress is the #1 CMS in the world, mainly due to the plugin market. There are more than 50,000 plugins available for you to use in the WordPress ecosystem. A WordPress plugin adds extra functionality to your WordPress websites. For example, if you want to integrate a contact form, you can install a plugin to generate a contact form. There's also plugins for integrating e-commerce functionality and also SEO plugins for optimizing your website for the Google search results. Think of a WordPress plugin like apps for your smartphone. Any type of functionality you want to add, you can simply download it to your WordPress website. All the plugins are free with WordPress and offer a pro version available on the developers' websites. Feel free to explore plugins to see what kind of functionality you want to add for your WordPress website. So for example, over here in the search plugins, if you type in SEO, you'll get a list of plugins that can help optimize your website for the Google search results. We have Yoast, Rank Math, and All-in-One SEO. These are some of the most popular SEO plugins for WordPress. Also, if we type in something like contact, You'll also get a list of available contact forms you can embed on your website, such as Contact Form 7, WP Forms, and also Forminator. So feel free on your own time to explore the WordPress ecosystem to find a plugin that best suits your websites. Now let's talk about what is a WordPress theme. So first, let's go over here to Appearance and click on Themes. At the top, I'll click on Add New Theme. So here's a list of available WordPress themes. So let me explain what a WordPress theme is and what does it do for your website. What is a WordPress theme? Every website with WordPress requires a WordPress theme. Think of a WordPress theme like a shell of your websites. It's what makes your website look unique and gives it a specific style. A WordPress theme controls various parts of your website like the header, the footer, the blog page, and the shop page of your websites. A WordPress theme does not create the content of your actual website, but is more of an outside shell for the page builders to add all the content within your websites. Each of these WordPress themes are free to use and offer a limited amount of features, but are still generous for what they offer. Each WordPress theme has a pro version which you can upgrade through their websites, and the pricing varies between themes. Feel free to explore themes and see which one works best for your websites. You got that? So many WordPress themes offer various templates, and they also design various parts of your website like the header and the footer and other various parts. Now under search themes, we're going to type in Solace, S-O-L-A-C-E. And here is a WordPress theme that we're going to use for this video. This theme is actually a brand new theme, and it comes with tons of beautifully designed template kits you can install on your websites. So once you see this theme, you'll then click on Install, and then you'll click on Activate. Next, you'll see this Install Starter Templates. Let's go ahead and click on Install Starter Templates. This will give you access to all the features plus the template library. All right, and this is the Solace theme dashboard. This is where you can access the demos and also customize your website using the theme customizer. Here under Starter Templates, let's go ahead and click on Start Now. And this is me. I'm just saying, hey, hello, how are you? And this is a tutorial for Elementor, but you can just go ahead and click on Start Now. And here is a list of available templates. Check this out. We got more than 100 templates available, and we're adding more every single month. On the left side, you'll see that you can actually search by category. And these are a list of our available templates. And if you click on Load More, it'll show more templates that you can easily import on your websites. So let's say, for example, you want to import like an e-commerce website templates. You'll click on e-commerce. And then you'll see like a list of templates that you can import. And this actually installs all the plugins that you need automatically. So it'll actually import all the necessary plugins automatically, making it really simple to create any type of websites. Now let's go ahead and uncheck e-commerce. Okay, so we're going to use a template that we made specifically for this video. So let's go ahead and scroll down, and you're going to see web crafters right here. Now, if you like other demos, you can always use these templates a little bit later, but let's just use this one demo so we can all follow along together. If you can't find this demo, at the top over here under search, you can type in web crafters, and then you'll see that the template appears. So let's go ahead and click on web crafters. And here's the demo website. And as you can tell, it looks good. We have some text here on the left side. We have this image. And then below that, we have some more content that you can go ahead and replace with your images, and you can update all of this content to your liking. You can also adjust the color palette. So here on the left side, you can go ahead and pick a color palette that best suits your niche. And you can also pick various fonts right here. So you can go ahead and jump between these fonts. Once you go ahead and select a color palette and font that fits your liking, here, I'll go ahead and click on this checkbox. This is a required check, so you need to have this checked in order to install the Elementor page builder. So go ahead and click on that checkbox, and then let's click on Continue. Here you can choose to opt into our newsletter by putting in your first name and your email. If not, you can always skip this or do it later. So I'll go ahead and click on Skip this step. And now the Solace theme is going to import the entire demo onto your WordPress websites. So just give this like 1 or 2 minutes. All right, the import is now complete, and now you can check your website. So let's click on Check Website. And voila, you now have a beautiful, fully imported WordPress website. And if we scroll down, you'll see the images imported correctly, all the contents. We have some more upsells like web design services and some buttons. And of course, you can change this to anything that you'd like. We have some frequently asked questions, and then we have our footer here at the bottom. So let's go ahead and scroll up. You can also check the other pages. So let's click on the About Us page. So here's our About Us page. And if we scroll down, we have some more content. We have some award sections like clients and developers and all this cool stuff. And then we have our awards and achievements here. And then we have our footer there at the bottom. All right. So feel free to go through all these pages. You can go ahead and check them out. You can always edit these pages or delete them later, but it's just nice to know that you have all of these pages available on your WordPress websites. So let's go ahead and jump back to our home page. And now let's talk about how to design the website using the Elementor Page Builder. Okay, so now that we have our beautiful templates on our WordPress website, now we're gonna use the Page Builder to design the websites. So we're gonna be using the free version of Elementor. So I'll be covering how to use the Page Builder. I'll be talking about how to add sections, how to use the AI feature, and also how to use the Elementor Flexbox. So in this part of the video, you're gonna learn how to use the Elementor Page Builder, and after this section, you'll be an Elementor Pro. With that said, let's go ahead now and design the website using Elementor. Let's go. Okay, so now let me give you all a 10 to 15 minute crash course on how to use the Elementor Page Builder. Now to get started with, let's work on a brand new page. So to create a page up here under plus new, let's click on page. And for the title, I'll just put practice because this is gonna be our practice page. At the top right, I'll click on publish and publish. Now really quick, I'm gonna close this panel. What I wanna do here is I wanna hide the title. So I don't want the title to display on this page. I just want a blank page to work with. So I'll click on the hide title, and then I'll click on save. Now to turn on the Elementor Page Builder from the back end, all you gotta do is click on Edit with Elementor, and this will turn on the Page Builder. Okay, so this is the UI for the Elementor Page Builder. Now before we go on any further, I quickly wanna show you all how to change the style of the elements. I'll click on the Elementor logo and click on User Preferences. Now, if you want to have like a light mode, you can choose light mode. If you want dark mode, you can always choose dark mode. I feel like this is easier on the eye, right? You can see this a little bit better. So I'm gonna leave mine as the dark mode, and then I'll click on the add elements. So the first thing that we're gonna do is let's just add in some rows so that we can get started with, right? So click on the plus icon. So next we have two different layouts. I'll explain both, but let's just go ahead and click on Flexbox for now. So next we have these columns, and we do have these columns with a down arrow and a right arrow. I'll explain what that means a little bit later, but for now, let's just select a 2-column row. So now we have these 2 columns. Now I'll click on the plus elements, and then we can drag and drop these elements onto the page. So for example, I'll take a heading text, and now you'll see that text appears. Now for every element, you're gonna have 3 different tabs. You have the content tab. This controls the actual content of the elements. And then you have the style tab. This controls things like the typography, the fonts, the colors, and also you can add in cool things like text strokes and some other animations. And then we have the advanced tab. This controls the margin and the padding. So for example, if you want to add space, you can add space. And also you can add in really cool things like motion effects. So I'll go ahead and scroll down. Here is motion effects, where we can go ahead and add an animation for this specific module, right? So we have zoom in down, rotate in. That is really ugly, so don't get too crazy with the animations, okay? Now there are some more options here, but we'll explain this a little bit later. So let's click on the content tab. So here we have the content, and if you wanna change the content, you'll just put in like, learn to make website, okay? And then I'll click on the add elements, and this brings us back to the element screen where we can drag in more elements. So next I'll take an image and I'll drag it. And when you see that little pink line right there, you can just drop it, and that's where the element will display. So I'll go ahead and choose an image, click on media library. Now, when you use Solace, we actually give you a bunch of free demos to use. So you can use any of these free images on your websites. I'll go ahead and select these guys here and click on select, right? I'll go ahead and scroll down a little bit more. Here I'll click on the add elements, and we can just keep adding more elements as we go. So for example, we have text editor, right? And then we can adjust this text. It'll display in a second. There we go. And then lastly, let's say you want to throw in a button to finish this off. We'll throw in a button here. And then here you can change the text like buy now or something, right? Now for the link, what's really cool with Elementor is you can just type in the name of the page and it'll redirect to that page. So for example, I'll just type in contact, and what Elementor is gonna do, it's gonna find the permalink for the contact page, and it's gonna insert it automatically. Now in the next section, you'll see that we can go ahead and adjust this, right? So we can add a different text color. We can choose a different color for the background. So for example, if you wanna change this to a different background, I'll go ahead and close that. You'll see the button now changes, right? Pretty cool. So that's how you can go ahead and change the colors for your buttons. Now let's say, for example, you wanna add in more stuff over here, I'll go ahead and click on the elements. And then maybe you want to add in like a YouTube video or something else. Now, really quick, let me go ahead and explain these elements on the left side. So we have the basic elements. Now you can use these elements for free with the Elementor Page Builder. If we scroll down, you'll see that there are some pro elements. These are only available in the Elementor Pro version, but I'll be honest, if you're building a basic website, you don't really need to use these pro elements. They can be useful, but they're not necessary for most websites. If we keep scrolling, we'll now see the general elements. You can also use these general elements on your websites. And if you're not sure what they do, just go ahead and just drag and drop it and check it out, right? So for example, we have this icon here with the heading and some description. And then of course you can adjust the title and the description here. And for the style, this is where you can control the color and also the sizing for the actual elements. Now for every element, you can also right click on it and duplicate it. And you can also right click and delete it and right click and delete it. Now you can also do this with rows and also columns. So for example, just like we duplicated that one element, you can do the same thing for the entire row. So I'll click on right click on this container and I'll click on duplicate, right? Right click and duplicates. And I no longer need this section here. So I'll right click and I'll delete this column. All right, pretty cool. So now let's say, for example, you want to style the background of one of these containers. So here, click on edit container. And here you can adjust the width, right? And you can also adjust the height of the container. We'll talk more about these options a little bit later. But here under the style tab, you'll see that we have some options where we can add a background type. So I'll click on the classic. And let's say, for instance, I want to add like a background color. You'll now see that under this column, we now have this background color being applied to this box. Now, just like we added a color to this box, you can add a background color to the entire section by clicking on these 6 dots right here. Now, these 6 dots allow you to control all the elements inside of this section. So under the style tab, I'll go to classic, and then for the color, we can go ahead and change the color of this background. But notice how it's only applying to these other boxes because we've already set the color for this middle box. Pretty simple, right? Pretty straightforward. Now, what's also really cool is you can add in something called shape dividers. I love these things. Here, we'll click on shape divider. And let's say, for example, you want mountains, right? Here, you'll see that there's this little like weird like design they got going on. And we can go ahead and change it, right? So we can change the width and the heights, right? And they have so many different types. They have drops. We got these cool drops. They have clouds, right? And if you make that bigger, you'll see you can you can get really creative here, as you can tell, right? Now, you can also go ahead and duplicate full-on sections. So just like we duplicated these columns here, I'll go ahead and right-click and duplicate this as well. And if we scroll down, you will see that this entire section has also been duplicated. Okay, now to save the changes that you made on your website, all you're gonna do is click on publish, and this will save all of the work that you've done on your website, right? Now, let's say, for example, you guys made a mistake, right? Let's just go ahead and put this over there and this over here, right? If you ever made a mistake on your website, you can always go back into the history of your revisions. So for example, I'll click on the Elementor logo and click on history. Here we can go ahead and just backtrack. So anytime you made a mistake, you can always go ahead and just go back to the history to basically go to any point of when you were building your websites. Let's go ahead and click on the plus elements. Now let's talk about how to make this full width, right? Notice here how we're in this box layout. This can be done in the gear icon right here under page settings. So under the page settings, under page layouts, I want to select this to Elementor full width. This will make sure that the entire page stretches across. So now you'll see that all of these columns right here, they stretch across the page, making it full width, right? So let's go ahead and open this back up. Okay, so on your own free time, feel free to go ahead and just drag in elements. Like for example, if you want a video, like maybe I'll delete this and you can throw in like a video right here in between. And then for every element, you'll see they have their own unique options where you can put a link right here. You can set autoplay, you can mute it and stuff like that. And then for the style tab, you can change the aspect ratio and also add in CSS filters, like making this brighter. including the saturation. Now these controls for the CSS filters are also available for the images as well. It's like a built-in Photoshop, right? So you can click on an image, go to Style, CSS Filters, and this is where you can basically just, control the image hue and the saturation, and just, completely have your own built-in Photoshop directly in the editor. It's amazing. So let's go ahead and delete this, and I'll also go ahead and delete this as well. So next, let's talk about the Flexbox. Now the Flexbox is going to be one of the more challenging things to understand. So I'll click on the Flexbox, but this time I'm going to select the down arrow. Okay. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and put a new container in here, right? So now I have a container inside of this. So next I'll go ahead and drag in some elements. So I'm going to put a text editor here. All right. And then I'll also throw in a button. So let's say, for example, you want to put this button on the right side of this text, but notice here how these elements are actually going in a horizontal motion. This is where you can use the Flexbox to manipulate these elements inside of the box. So I'll click on the edit container, and for the direction, now you'll see that we have horizontal, right? We have vertical, and so on and so forth. Let's say, for instance, I want these horizontal from one another. Now you're going to see that we stack the elements horizontally. If you want these reversed, you'll now see that we can reverse these elements, right? And then by default, this is vertical, or we can do column reversed, which basically puts the element on top. This is actually a much better option than using margin and padding, because this leads to a more responsive websites. So let me give you a better example. So this is my website, durwilson.com, and you've probably seen that you have these two call to actions. Now, this is a very popular, common web design practice that people use because you want to give people two options to go to different parts of the websites. So this can be done with the Flexbox. So for example, if I add another element here under the button, you'll notice that they're stacked on top of each other, and I can't really make them next to each other. Now the problem is if I decide to put horizontal, it puts everything horizontal. So to fix that, what we'll do is we'll throw in another Flexbox. So for example, I'll put a container right here, and then we can drag these elements inside. So I'll take this button, put it inside, and I'll take this other button and put it inside the Flexbox. So now what I can do here is I can control these elements, right? So I'll go ahead and make these horizontal. And now we have the justify contents. And this is where you can position the buttons in specific ways. So for example, I'll put it in the center, space between, space around, space evenly, and you get the point, right? We can also go ahead and align the items, but since this isn't a very small box, it's kind of a bad example. So I'll give you another example a little later. And let's say, for instance, you want to increase the gap right here. So to increase the gap, you can go ahead and just increase the gap right here and just manually add in padding like that. And if you put it like in the center, it'll go ahead and keep that gap right there, right? So this makes it more convenient to control the elements inside. So let's go ahead and recreate my landing page, right? We have text, 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 and we have two buttons. So let's do this. Let's just go ahead and start from scratch, right? I'll go ahead and click on the plus, Flexbox, and the first one I want to select is this horizontal box. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab another container. I'll explain why I'm doing this as we go, but I just want more control over the websites. So the first thing I want to add is a text editor, right? And this can be something like create a cool website. Okay. I'll click on add elements, and then I'll throw in a heading text. Create your WordPress website today, join me, right? Now notice here how this stretches all the way across the page, and I don't like that. Now the reason why we added this Flexbox is because now we can control the width inside of this one box. So here you'll see the content width is full width, but I don't want it that big, right? I want to kind of make it a little bit more compact, right? So we can kind of control that. So I'll put something like, 55, right? So that's why you want to add a Flexbox in the Flexbox so that you can control these elements inside. And the next one is a text editor, right? Pretty cool. And lastly, what I'm going to do is throw in one more container in here. Okay. And then we're going to put the buttons in here, right? So I'll go ahead and throw a button here, and I'll right click and duplicate it. Now, I bet you already understand why we did this. So now I'll use the Flexbox here to basically put these side by side, right? We should probably change the color, right? I mean, orange and orange, that's really ugly. Even on my websites, the best practice is having different color buttons just because it attracts different types of audiences, right? So for example, for the click here, I'll go ahead and style this. And we'll change this to something like black, right? I like black and orange. That's a really cool combo, right? Looking good. And I hate the double text. We'll just put like contact us. And then this will be something like buy now or something, right? Or about us. For the about us, I'll just link them to the about us page, right? Here we go. And for the contact, we'll just put the contact page. Whoa. There we go. Contact. All right. Okay. Now let's say, for example, you want to add an image here on the right side. Now there's a few ways to do this, right? We could have just made a 2-column row. You know, we could have just gone and done this right here and just put in the text and then the image, or we can use the Flexbox in a more creative way. Now this is more advanced, but I just want to demonstrate this just to help you all out. Here I'll just take an image, and what I'll do is I'll go ahead and post it below this box. And I'll choose an image. And I'll put, who should we put? We'll put this guy here. He's having a good time. You know, he has his coffee. He's having a good day, right? So we have this image below this section. Now, just like we use the Flexbox for these 2 buttons, we can also use the Flexbox for this entire section right here. So for these dots, I'll go ahead and put horizontal, and then you'll see that this actually goes side by side in a really nice, clean format. Now that is one way on how you can do that. You don't have to do that way, but I'm just sort of opening up your brain to different ways on how to use the Flexbox, right? Now you might have noticed here how we have a lot of space, right? And I don't want to make padding and margin. We can use the Flexbox to manipulate all these elements inside. So I'll click on the Flexbox, and here I'll click on Justify Contents, and you'll see that we put it in the center. Now you can also do like space evenly, space around, you know, or you can put like start or whatever, right? And if you want, you can go ahead and do this right here, where you can go ahead and add a gap around all the elements, right? So as you can tell, you know, the Flexbox is really useful in a lot of regards. It does take time to get used to, but using the Flexbox is very responsive and it makes things a lot easier. Now let's say, for instance, you want to add a background color to this. Here I'll click on these 6 dots and click on Style. And just like we did the background for this box earlier, we can go ahead and put in like a color, right? Or you can throw in a gradient. Now let's say, for instance, you want to put in like a gradient color. We can add in 2 colors, right? And then we can actually choose the location, right? So here I'll choose the location, right? And then we can also choose the location for this color. And then we can choose the angle. So now you'll see that it's rotating in a really nice, clean, like circular formats. You can also choose radial as well, which it makes it start from the center, but I think that's ugly. I'm not gonna do it. I think linear is actually pretty cool. So that's just an example of how you can create a really cool looking landing page using the Flexbox. Let's go ahead and make one more section really quick. So let's go ahead and scroll down. So next let's talk about these icons. So this allows you to create rows, right? This right here allows you to insert templates and blocks. So for example, these blocks right here are Pro elements. So you'll need to have Elementor Pro in order to use these, but I never like these. I feel like their designers are not the best. These ones are actually pretty nice, but they have some like old school ones and they're really ugly, you know, but yeah. And then we have pages where they also give us some Pro pages as well, but these are all Pro. But then we have My Templates. Now, templates are basically sections where you can save on your website and reinsert them anywhere you want on your websites. So for example, I can right click on this and click on Save as a Templates. And this is my homepage, right? Here, click on Save. I'll go ahead and close this. Then I'll scroll down here and under Templates, I now have access to those templates where I can insert them anywhere I want on the websites. So I'll click on Insert, Apply, and voila, we now have this brand new section that we imported from our template library. So you can always go that route. If you do make something that you like, feel free to save them and add them on other various parts of the websites. I'll go ahead and delete this bad boy. And then they have their Elementor AI. I'll be honest, this needs a lot of work. It sucks, so that's my 2 cents, but I'll show you how to use this anyways, just in case. So if you're watching this video, you might be asking yourself about AI. So is AI suitable for websites? I'll give you my personal opinion about AI when it comes to websites. While AI website builders may seem like a quick and easy way to build a website, they come with a lot of hidden problems that can make your experience frustrating and expensive in the long run. Sure, they can generate a basic website for you in minutes, but they lack the customization and personalization of a traditional web designer. These AI generators may choose a design or layout that doesn't fit your brand, and trying to change it later can be a huge headache. I personally don't recommend AI builders. You're gonna spend a lot more money trying to get something that you could have made in a few minutes. You don't have to follow me along here, but I'll just explain how this works. The first thing I'll do is connect to the Elementor website. Here I'll click on connect. So the first thing that you'll do is enter a prompt. Now I'll be honest, it sucks for making like sections, but it's actually really good for adding CSS. So for example, create me a 3-column row for my staff. Then I'll click on generate. And then it's gonna generate us 3 different versions. Okay, so it did something right here, right? It created this section for us, right? As you can see. It also created this staff section, and then they created this pro section, and these are using pro elements, so we can't use these. And you know, I asked it to make a 3-column row. Here, this is a 4-column row. I guess technically this is 3 columns, so I'll just click on use the layouts. And then from here, you can go ahead and design this to your liking, right? This isn't bad, but this is a paid service. So this is free for a limited time. And then after you use it a certain amount, they're gonna go ahead and charge you. So it's up to you if you wanna use the Elementor AI, but I think making a website from what you want is easier than guessing what the AI is just gonna give you. So I'll go ahead and just go ahead and delete this. And let's make one more section before we go to the home page. So now let's go ahead and select the grid for this next example. Now at first glance, you might not like this, but let me explain how this can actually be pretty cool. So I'll go ahead and select these 3-column rows right here. And now when I go ahead and insert in elements, you'll notice that we put in our elements, but if I wanna add in more, it actually pushes it to the next one, right? So you can't really add in more elements inside, right? So if I go ahead and add in this, it's just gonna go ahead and drag it over there. Now there is actually a special way in how to use this. So I'll go ahead and give you a cool little shortcut here, right? So you can actually add in containers, and then you can add in more elements inside of those containers. So for example, I'll put a heading here, right? And then I'll put in a button, and then I'll just throw in an image, right? And then maybe another image over here, right? And then I'll go ahead and put that over there, right? So yeah, it can be cool, right? So here you can kind of add in like some sort of section, right? So I'll go ahead and put some images. Okay, so I went ahead and I made this section here. Now really quick, for every section, you're gonna notice that it's too close to the top. I'll click on these 6 dots, and under the advanced section, I'll uncheck padding. Here I'll go ahead and put space to the top, right? Now you should probably do this for every section, and this basically gives like breathing room on your website, right? So I'll put maybe like 100 pixels, right? Now let's click on layouts. Now you'll see that this is a grid, right? So we do have different options. So here we have different columns where we can add in more columns, right? Here we can also choose the number of rows where you can add in more rows, right? And then you can add in gaps between all these sections as well. I typically find this more useful for portfolios. So if you want to create like a really nice portfolio, these controls actually make it pretty simple to do because you can add in more images here, and then you can adjust them to your liking. And then we can control the width of this as well. So you'll see, I think this is actually made more for portfolios and images, but there's so many different creative ways on how to use the grid. It just makes things easier by just creating columns for you where you can just go ahead and add in more and then build your website like this. Now, another cool thing is you can actually rotate this between grid to Flexbox. So now you'll see that it's in Flexbox mode where now all of those boxes are gone, right? So it just looks stacked like that, or you can always just change it back to grid as well. Okay, so I'll go ahead and close this, and let's go back to the Flexbox one more time. I'll click on the plus and Flexbox. And let me give you one last example of the Flexbox before I go onto the home page. So here I'll click on directional row. And what I wanna do here is I'll start adding in images. So I'll put an image here. So I'll go ahead and use these little logos. Now you don't have to follow me here, but I'm just gonna go ahead and show you how this can be useful. I'll drag in another image. All right, another image. There we go. Okay, so I went ahead and I put these 4 images here. Now you can use the Flexbox to control all the elements inside, right? So for example, I'll click on the section here, and then I can put vertical. And what that's gonna do, it's gonna put all the images on top of each other. If I want to change this to reversed, you'll now see the images are reversed, and so on and so forth. We actually use this on the demo website. So if you do see like how we stack these images next to each other, we basically created the Flexbox and we just put it as a horizontal way to make all these horizontal from one another. Okay, so I think we're all ready to go. I think you guys have enough experience here with everything. So let's go ahead and jump to the home page now. So I don't really want to use this page anymore because this was a practice page. So I'm just going to go ahead and just go to view page. So now that we have some experience with Elementor and the Flexbox, let's take a look at how we did this. So let's go ahead now and click on Edit with Elementor. Okay, now the first thing that you'll notice is that we have two columns, right? We have one column and we have two columns. Now let's talk about something more advanced, and this is called margin. So here I inserted a divider, right? You'll see that we have slashes, but you can't really see it, right? And that's because we pushed it above this text right here. So under the advanced section, you'll see margin. Margin basically pushes in elements in specific ways, right? So for example, you'll see that we have this divider, and now you'll see that it's right here. A divider is something that typically divides the text from one another, and it just gives your website a little bit more style. So for example, we have slashes, but you can change this to squared, right? All right, or we have zigzag, or we can just do like a solid line, right? So essentially what a divider does, it just adds more decor and design to your website. But what we did here was we actually pushed it behind this using margin. So I'll go ahead and click on this, and I'll change that back to the slashes, and then I'll click on the advanced. And then for the top, I'm gonna go ahead and push this behind the text just to give it some design, right? As you can tell, like it does add a little bit of flavor to the website. So margin is a little bit more advanced, and that's just an example of how you can use margin with elements. So going back to the basic elements, we have a heading text, we have a text editor, and then we have a button. Here we just have a standard image, and below that, you'll see that we actually use the Flexbox here. So I'll click on the square, and you'll see that we use a horizontal row. But if I put vertical, you'll now see these all stack on top of each other. This is why I wanted to basically introduce you to the Flexbox before we designed the homepage, because this might have scared you off, right? But now I think you understand how all this works. So I'll click on horizontal, right? And then of course, now we can, add in gaps or something like that and give it a little bit more style. Now let's go ahead and scroll down here. So let's say, for example, you want to add a new section in between these sections. I'll click on the plus. And then here we can go ahead and, build a whole new section using the elements, just like we did before. So scrolling down, you'll see that we added that style right here. So we have that divider that we pushed up behind that. Here you'll see that we have those images. Remember earlier how we talked about the Flexbox? Here we put vertical, right? And then I'll put horizontal. So now you can see how the Flexbox really comes into play, right? It's very useful. And scrolling down, you'll see that we have this text here, we have some more text, and then we have an image below that, right? Text, and then we have an icon, an image, and then below that, we just use a counter module. The counter module can be found over here if you type in counter. This allows you to just throw in like a counter on your website for whatever reason. And you can always go ahead and adjust the starting number, the prefix, and then here are all the options to adjust this to however you want. You can also style these buttons here. Just remember, for the number, you can change the font and also the color of the actual numbers and the title. But I don't want to do that, so I'll right click and delete it. So I think at this point, you have an idea of how to use the Elementor page builder, right? It's not that difficult. Also, when you're building your website, you might notice that these elements here are stacked on top of each other. But if I actually close this, you'll see that they are side by side. Sometimes that happens if there's not enough space on the page. So yeah, just feel free to just adjust it to your liking, right? So next, let's create a new section in between this section. Let's create a call to action. And this is actually a very popular style. So a call to action is something on your website where you typically want people to click on it. You'll see here how I have this text. We have text, and then we have this button here. So I'll show you how I created this. So the first thing is I'll click on the plus section, and click on Flexbox. Now I'm gonna select the down arrow, right? And then we'll start adding in modules. So the first thing, now there's no right or wrong way to use Elementor. I can use a button, I can use a text and add a background. There's so many ways on how I can replicate that section. But to make this simple for you all, I'll just go ahead and start with a text editor, right? This will be #1 best web host. Next, we have the we recommend Hostinger. So I'll go ahead and put in this right here that says we recommend Hostinger. The next is another text editor, right? And I'll just go ahead and copy this text. Now I want to use the H3 tag. So H3 is a little bit more smaller than the H2. So I'll go ahead and change this to H3. There we go. Okay. And then I'll throw in some more text below that. And then I'll throw in a button below that. And then I'll change this text really quick. So we have this section, and the first thing is I want to make sure this is full width, right? So I want it to stretch across the page, and I want to put these in the center. So under the align items, I'll put center. Now, sometimes with some modules, like some of the text editors, sometimes they're independent from the Flexbox, so you have to manually adjust the actual alignment. And under style, you'll see that the alignment is center. And yeah, I don't know why Elementor does that. I think there might be some reasons, but they do keep some elements independent from the Flexbox. There's only like 2 or 3. There's not many, right? And the next thing I want to do is maybe add in a background. So here I'll click on edit container, and then under the style, I'll go ahead and put in a classic. So I'll go ahead and just throw in a background color. Now what I'll probably do here is change this to like black, right? And then what we can do is change all of these to white. So I'll click on this text under the style, and I'll change this to white. Now under the recommended hostinger, I'll click on style. And then for the text color, I'll click on default. And what we can do is we've already created global fonts and colors. We'll talk more about that a little bit later, but you can set preset colors and fonts for your website, so you don't have to keep guessing on which color that you used. And the same thing for this one, right? Here is the text color, right? Okay. And the last section, we'll change this to white as well. Now, really quick, I want to introduce you all to something called copy and paste. So at this top element right here, I'll go ahead and right click and click on copy. And then I'll click on this element and I'll right click and I'll paste the style. Essentially what I'm doing here is I'm taking the styling from one element and you can paste it onto another. This is very good for buttons, you know, really good for buttons. And then of course, I'll go ahead and center this as well. And just like we did on our other website here, you'll see that we have this section pretty well structured, right? Now, one thing I did on the other website is I reduced the gap, right? So what I did here was I just put a little bit of gap, right? Okay. And then I added a background to this specific text. You can do that by going to the advanced section. And if I scroll down, you'll see background. And you can actually add backgrounds between elements, which is pretty cool, right? So here I'll just throw in like a little background, right? I think we have an orange color right here. Let's go ahead and check our globals. There we go, button. So then you'll see that we have this color behind it. Now notice here how it's squared. If you ever want to make something circular, that's called border radius. So I'll go ahead and scroll down here, and under the background, under the border, we're now going to add some border radius. And this puts it in a more circular motion, just like that, right? So that's how we can basically recreate this section. It's not perfect, but as you can tell, it looks visually the same. Okay, so let's go ahead and keep scrolling down. Now, I think at this point, you understand what's going on, right? So if you want to go ahead and add in like a text right here, there we go. You can throw in a text, and you can keep scrolling and build a website any which way you want using Elementor. So as you can tell, this page builder is very simple to use. It's not difficult. So let's go ahead now and publish our changes. So I'll click on publish, and then I'll view the page. All right, and here's our landing page, and you'll notice our buttons are, they're gapped a little bit more farther. Scrolling down, we have our images and our contents, right? And if we keep scrolling down, we're now gonna have that new section that we created. Looks very similar to our website. We could have made this a little smaller, but I think you get the point. And then here we have our frequently asked questions and so on and so forth. So that is a general rundown of how to use the Elementor page builder. Now, feel free to go to all of your other pages right here, and you can go ahead and use the page builder. So for example, I'll go to the About Us page and click on Edit with Elementor. And then you can use the page builder to design this website right here. So just like we did on the home page, you can do the same thing where you can design all parts of your website using the page builder. As you can tell, it's a very fluid builder. It does take some time to get used to, but I think you all get the points. Now to exit out of this, I'll just click on View Page again, and then we can go explore other parts of the websites. So I think you all get the point. Now let's go ahead and jump back to the home page. So next, let me show you all some features about Elementor. So I'll go ahead and turn on the page builder. Now you don't have to follow me here, but I just want to explain some features that you might like or that you might use. Now the first thing is over here, you'll see that we have this preview. This allows you to preview in a new tab without having to close the actual window, right? Here you have the help where you can get help. Here we have the finder. This typically allows you to actually scour to other pages. So for example, if you want to go to the contact page, it'll actually jump you over to the contact page where you can just design the contact page instead of actually closing it and opening it and stuff like that. So I'll go ahead and go back to the home page. Here we go. Next are the announcements. So Elementor typically has a lot of updates and they're always adding in new stuff. But what I've noticed lately is that they're really trying to push their other plugins, which can be a little annoying, but you know, it's a good product, but it's just not for me. Next is a checklist. And this is just like a reminder of things. You know, I don't know. It's not really useful in my book. Here we have the page settings. This allows you to hide the title and you can adjust the layout to full width. Typically, most pages are always Elementor full width. So make sure you leave this as your standard page size. And over here, we have the home where you can go ahead and search between other pages, right? Now over here, we have the structure. So this is called the navigator. Now the navigator shows which elements are inside the containers. So I'll click on the drop down and here you'll see if I click on this box that it highlights this section. And if I open this, it actually shows me all the elements inside. Now, this actually is useful if you're building a custom header on the Pro version, because sometimes it can get really hard to reach certain areas. So if you find that like maybe you try to click something and it doesn't work or show up, you can always use the navigator right here. Now, what's interesting about the navigator as well is you can actually drag and drop specific sections. So for example, if I want to take the client section and put it above the hero, I can take this and drag it at the top. Wait, hold on. There we go. Drag at the top. All right. And then we have the client section at the top. If I want to take the client and put it below that again, I'll just put it below that. And there we go. You can also right click and duplicate sections as well using the navigator. So you can always use these options here to delete sections or to duplicate it. So for example, I duplicated those rows. And you'll see that we have 2 rows now, right? I can always right click and delete that as well. This is good if you're just, you want to jump to different parts of the websites, or if you just want to, have a little bit more control over your websites. I typically don't use the navigator too much, to be honest, just because it's easy to see what I'm working with, but sometimes it can be very useful. I'll go ahead and close the navigator. Next, let's go ahead and talk about the site settings. Now think of the site settings as a small built-in theme customizer. So here we have global colors. Now when you imported this specific template, we actually created some global colors for all of you. If you want to change those global colors, you can always go ahead and change these, right? So you can change it to like any color you want, right? So you want like a blue color, or if you want to change the base fonts or whatever, and you can always add in more custom colors. Now these custom colors will be available when users click on the style options. So I'll put like new color here, right? And this will be like orange, or let's just do a red, right? All right, so we have a new color and that's red, right? Here we have the theme Global Solace. So this is actually a built-in feature with Solace. And here you can actually change the colors for the links, the link hover, the button hover, the border, and so on and so forth. So what Solace has done here, we've integrated the WordPress theme to actually go ahead and add in more certain sections where you can just quickly change the link of your website. So you can go ahead and change these colors to anything that you'd like. All right, now to exit out of this, I'll click on Save Changes. So remember, we changed the button to blue and we have this new color red. So let's go ahead and close this really quick. So now going to our website, you'll now see that we have blue all over our websites. And that's just because we changed the global color palette, right? You can always go ahead and change it back, or you can just manually change it. So for example, I can click on this, go to Style, and then go to Color. Now notice here how we have that new color, right? So that's a good way on how to create preset colors. And then here is the Solace integration where we actually have more colors. So what we did here was we wanted to give you more basically options to have different color palettes. So there is a lot of different color palettes that you can create. All right, so that is an example of global colors. Now the same option applies for global fonts. So I'll click on the site settings and then I'll click on global fonts. So global fonts typically make it so you can adjust the fonts for the button, for the H1, H2, H3, and so on and so forth. So for example, if you want the H1 tags to be a specific font, we can go ahead and change the font right here. So what that means is every time that you use an H1 tag, it'll automatically adjust to the specific fonts. This is good when you're building a website because typically you're going to use maybe 2 fonts at most. If you use 3 fonts, I warn you, don't do that. It's a quick way to make your site look really tacky. So you can go ahead and adjust all of these fonts for every specific tag. And also if you want the paragraph, which is just like the main text of your website, you can go ahead and select a specific preset family, the size, and so on and so forth. So that's what preset fonts are. It just allows you to save the actual fonts for all of the elements. Here, click on close. And then you'll see that font now changes because we actually set the H1 tag to be Oswald fonts. So I'll click on style, and under the typography, you'll now see that this changes because we've changed this in the global font section. And if I want to, change this to something else, you'll see that we can go ahead and change that. And these are all presets that you can set in the global font section. Let's go back to site settings really quick. And going back, you can always go ahead and go to the images, and you can always like add borders or something. So for example, I'll put a double border here, and you'll see that all the images will now have this double border, which is really cool, right? So we have these frames right here, right? And this applies to all the images on your websites. I do like the double. I think that's actually pretty cool. I think I'm actually going to update this in the actual, in the video description. I do like that style. So I'll click on Save Changes. Now the last option under settings, I actually don't recommend to use these elements. These typically can conflict with a lot of the elements on your website, and I just find myself avoiding these actually. I think the design system is very useful. In fact, if you're building your website, I do recommend to first create styling options, and then you can adjust the theme style if necessary. But for these settings, I typically don't use these because they keep conflicting with the elements and other parts of my websites. So I'll go ahead and click on Save Changes. Now that is pretty much it for the general options of the Elementor page builder. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next section, which we're going to talk about mobile optimization. Mobile optimization, I cannot stress how important this is. The reason why is because today in 2025, there are more mobile users than desktop users. So you really got to make sure your website is fully optimized for all devices. So in this part of the video, we're going to optimize our website for the tablet and also the mobile device. So in this part of the video, we're going to optimize our website for all devices such as the PC, tablets, and mobile device. So let's quickly touch base on why mobile optimization is so important. Let's talk about mobile optimization. So mobile optimization means making sure your websites look good on mobile devices and also tablets. When a website is mobile optimized, it adjusts to fit the smaller screen size of phones and tablets, and it makes it easier for users to navigate your websites. Always make sure your website is fully optimized for all devices to ensure that your users have a good experience. You got that? So there are more mobile users than desktop users today, so we really want to make sure that our website is fully optimized for all devices. So the first option is the tablets, right? Now, when we make these templates, we actually optimize it for all devices, such as the tablet and also the mobile. So there's really no need for you to go ahead and adjust this because me and my team have actually done all this for you. However, let's just say, for instance, you want to learn how to do this on your own. Let's say, for example, you want to put this title in the center, but you don't want it in the center for the computer. So I'll go ahead and click on the pencil. Now, when you're in the tablet view right here, you'll notice that there's this little computer, there's this tablet, and there's a phone. So for the tablet device, I'll go ahead and put this in the center. The same thing for this one, style. Here is the portraits. I'll go ahead and put center. And then for the button, I'll also go ahead and put this in the center. Now notice here how we can put this in the center and this is in tablets, right? And then maybe over here, we'll go ahead and put this in the center as well, right? So for alignment, center, right? And then for the actual heading, right? I think it's here. There it is. Okay. We'll also put this in the center only for the tablet, which is in a really nice format. Now, there might be some elements that you don't want on your website. Like for example, do we really need this image? Well, maybe, right? But I don't think it's really necessary for the tablets. So you can actually hide specific sections on your websites. So I'll click on this image. For the advanced, I'm going to scroll down and then we're going to find responsive. Responsive means you can actually hide specific elements per device. So I don't really want this on the tablets and I don't really want this on the mobile. So when users go to my website, they're not going to see the actual image. They'll just see this text right here, and then they'll see these elements below that, right? Now, maybe for this section here, we can use the Flexbox to, make these elements more aligned. So for the direction, I'll go ahead and put vertical, right? And then I'll go ahead and put end, right? So what we're doing here is we're actually rearranging these elements specifically for the tablet device. So you can do this if you want, right? If you want to go ahead and, move these around, but I think this is actually suitable for a tablet. And scrolling down, you can go ahead and, move these in the center if you want. So for the tablets, the center, and so on and so forth, right? So that is how you can optimize your website for the tablet device. We've already done this for you, so there's no need for you to really go through the website and change it. But hey, if you want to, go ahead. This section's really ugly, so you know what? We're gonna hide this whole section. Here, click on these 6 dots, and just like we hid the actual image, I'm actually gonna hide the entire section. So for the advanced, same thing, responsive, hide on tablets, and hide on mobile. All right, pretty cool. Now let's go ahead and jump to the mobile preview. Here, click on mobile portraits. Now for mobile, one of the most common things that we do is we adjust the size of the text. I mean, do we really need all of this text right here? We can either choose to hide it or we can make it smaller. For the typography section, you'll see under the size how this only applies for the mobile. We can make this a little bit more smaller just because I feel like that's too large for mobile users. Okay, scrolling down, let's go ahead. Now here we have a lot of space, right? And that's because we use margin, right? But on the mobile preview, it doesn't look that good. So click on these 6 dots and notice here how this is in mobile portraits. And here we have margin. We can go ahead and get rid of the margin, right? We don't need that much margin, maybe like 100, something like that. That's good, right? Is that good? I don't know. Let me know in the comments, right? Here you'll see that this section, these dividers right here should be in the centered, right? So for the alignments, I'll put that in the centered, making it look really cool, right? And we'll keep scrolling. Now, how does this look, guys? Do you like this? You know, you can be the judge. You know, let's go ahead and take a look here, right? All right, looking good, right? Here, that part's hidden. Okay. This section, we'll go ahead and put those in the middle. All right, scrolling down. And I think this looks really good now. So let's go ahead now and publish this. All right, now to get out of the mobile preview, let's go ahead and click on desktop. And this takes us back to the original way when we were building our website. And if we scroll down, you'll notice nothing's changed, right? So the website looks identical to the way it did before, right? And you'll see everything is the same. So you'll see none of this was changed, right? But we can see this banner now because we're in desktop view. So those changes were only applied to the tablet and to the mobile device. Okay, so now we're gonna jump into the theme customizer. Now, every theme for WordPress has their own theme customizer with their own features and styling options. I'll be showing you how to use the Solace theme customizer, where you can adjust the header and the footer of your website using the theme customizer. So in this part of the video, I'll teach you everything about the Solace theme customizer. Y'all ready? Let's go. Okay, so in this part of the video, we're gonna talk about the theme customizer. Now, every WordPress theme has its own theme customizer. You can access a theme customizer by clicking on the customize here at the top. So before we jump into the options, let me explain what a theme customer is and what does it do for your website. Okay, you got that? So let's go ahead and go through the Solace theme customizer. Now, the very first is the general options. Now, personally, I don't really think these are necessary for most websites. However, if you are using a different page builder, it can be useful. But let me just go ahead and explain how this works. So here we have this global color palette, right? Now, this color palette is also accessible in the Elementor global palette as well. So these controls are basically the same as the Elementor global palettes. So for example, here we have the heading text, right? And let's say you want to change all the heading text on your websites. Here under the heading, I'll click on the initial, and this is where you can change the color. So for example, if I want to change this to something like orange, you will now see all of the main heading text on the website changes to this orange color. Now, this does not affect the paragraph text because this is actually over here under the text selector. So next, let's talk about the background. So for example, if you want to change the entire background of your website, you can do that right here. And this will actually apply to various parts of the website. So now we have this black background, right? Now there is one thing to note here. Like I mentioned before, Elementor can conflict with the theme customizer. So right here in this background, we purposely set a specific color. So if we set it in the theme customizer, it will not override the Elementor settings. The theme customizer and Elementor do conflict at some points. Next, let's talk about the actual button. So by default, we have this color right here for the button. Now these buttons generally apply to the WooCommerce and to the blog in the checkout page, and it generally doesn't refer to the buttons on your websites. We refer to these as links basically, because technically these buttons are links to other parts of the websites. Now, for example, here we have this blue one, right? But you'll see that this is orange, and that's because we actually set this to be orange in the Elementor page builder. Now, if we scroll down, you might notice that some buttons might be blue, and that's because we select this as a color palette. So if you selected a color palette, then you can go ahead and change the colors of the buttons. If you actually specifically set the button to be orange, then these options will have no effect. Okay, so I just want to make that very clear because some users can be very confused when it comes to these specific colors. I personally don't recommend to use the global color palettes just because Elementor has its own global color palette and there can be a lot of conflict. And the same thing applies for the fonts as well. So here we have a font size, which is like the small, and then we have the base font. So this right here is the base fonts. And if you want to change the base font right here, you can also do this for the theme customizer. And to close that, so just click on that. And the same thing for the H1 tag, H2, and H3. These are typically more used for archive pages, such as the blog and also WooCommerce pages. It's not really referring to the home page. You can use these for your home page, but I personally recommend just to use the Elementor page builder because these can get really conflicting very easily. Now let's go ahead and go back. Now let's talk about one of the coolest options with the Solace theme, and that is the header builder. So here, click on header builder. Now what's really cool with Solace is we've actually set preset conditions, right? So here you'll see that we have these preset styles where we have the logo here, or you can have it like this, where you have this black bar, right? We have the logo on the left side and we just have this one, menu that opens up like that, right? And then here we have the logo in the middle, and then we have the button here, 2 buttons here on the right side, right? So we've actually set a lot of these preset styles to make things really simple for the users. Now here I'll click on elements. Really quick, let me go ahead and change this link color back here. So under the general options, colors, I'll go ahead and change this over here to the orange, right? Okay, all right, cool. So let's go back to the header builder. So let's take a look here. We have 3 different rows. We have the top row, the main row, and the bottom row. And all you got to do is take an element here and just drag it onto one of the rows, and then you'll see a new row appears. And for every element, there's styling options, right? You can change the text, the font color, the button color. You can also change the outline as well if you want it like that. And you can also style every single row. So under the gear icon, you can change the background color, you can change the size, you can add a gradient background if you want. So for example, I'll go ahead and throw in a color, right? So here, put in a color. Here we have color, and we also have gradients. I'll click on gradients, and this is where you can, apply a gradient background to your row if you want to go that route. Let me go back here, and let's say you want to add in more elements. You simply just go ahead and drag and drop elements, and then you'll see more elements appear. And again, for every single element, there's options where you can, add a phone number, an email, or you can, add in like a website here by clicking on add, and then you would add the content and then the link, right? Now let's say you want to add in a 3rd row right here. So I'll just take this contact and I'll just drag and drop it. And then we have 3 rows, and then we can style this row. So I'll click on the gear icon. Here we can change the background color to like black, right? And then you can drag in more elements, and as you can go ahead and add a search form or something like that, right? Now you might come across this element right here called the widgets. These are widgets specifically from the actual page builder Gutenberg. So I'll go ahead and show you what these are. So here we have these widgets. And then what we can do is add widgets here. So you'll see it says go ahead and add some widgets. So click on add a widget. Now just remember, these are native to Gutenberg and WordPress. So these are the default widgets that come with WordPress. I'm not a big fan of these because they're really hard to size and stuff like that. They're actually very good for the footer, but for the header, I think you're better off using our elements. So for example, I put a calendar here, and the dates, right? And then, yeah, we got the dates, right? So you get the point, and you can add in more widgets here. So categories or something, right? And then categories will display. But as you can tell, this is much better for the footer, and these are a little bit too large for the actual header. So I'll go ahead and delete these and also delete these as well. All right. But I just want to explain what those are because you are going to see, the widgets and stuff like that. So let's go back to the header builder. All right. So I think you get it at this point, right? You can go ahead and drag and drop this. You can design this and make any kind of header you want. Okay. So that is the header builder in a nutshell. Really simple, really convenient to use. Now let's talk about the next option, which is the footer builder. Here, I'll click on footer builder. Now the footer builder is pretty much the same thing as the header builder. The only difference is that we use a lot more of the widgets and also the HTML elements. Now here I'll click on the HTML, And HTML is simply just text, right? It's just basically a text widget. So here you'll see I click on HTML2 and we just put in some text right here, call us now, we put in a phone number, and you'll see that displays right there. The next one, you'll see that we did the same thing. We just added in some text, right? So think of HTML where you can place HTML code or you can just add in visual text, right? You can use it for either one, right? Now, just like the header builder, I'll click on elements, and this is where we can drag in buttons or something else. So I'll put a button underneath this text, and there's the button. Now we can also position the button as well. So here we can change the alignment if you want it like under or to the right side, okay? And I can also, move this and I can, design it and stuff like that, right? And then of course you have all the styling options right here where you can make this bigger or smaller, okay? And let's say, for example, you want to add in like, contacts below that. And then here you can add in some contacts and stuff like that. So I do recommend to actually go through these options and just explore it on your own free time. Like this is the logo. This is just some text. This is social icons. And we've actually pre-created these footers for you. So you can always just go ahead and select something like this, where we just have this simple format where all you have to do is just go ahead and click on one of these. And then here you can just add widgets, right? So for example, I'll just put in like a text one. Here we go. And this is like about us. So there's the about us. And then I'll just throw in some content below that. All right, cool. And then for footer 2, you can add another widgets. So for example, maybe you want to, I don't know, what should we put here? Maybe pages. I think people like pages, So there we have our pages, right? I typed in pages, and here's a list of all the pages on our websites. And then here we have footer 3. I'll go ahead and add a widgets, and maybe we can just add in like a, and there we go. Okay, so feel free on your own time to custom build your footer of your websites. And also remember, when you're using the footer builder, you can also go ahead and change the background color. So just like you did for the actual header, if you click on the gear icon, you can choose different columns right here. So we have a 4-column row, but you can always change this to something like 3 columns, or just like this style as well, or this style, right? So there's many styles that we have, as you can see. And if we scroll down, we have the background color, where you can adjust the background color to any color that you choose. So go ahead and knock yourself out, have fun with the actual footer. Obviously, there's a lot of different ways on how to build your footer. So I do recommend to use our preset styles. These styles right here are practiced in web design and will make your site look really professional. So go ahead and knock yourself out with the footer builder. Now let's go ahead and go to the few last options. Let's go ahead and scroll up here. So next we have the page settings. Now to make this easier for you all, I'll click on single post and I'll scroll down. So here we have our single post, right? And we can control the size of this specific blog post. So here we have full width, then we have boxed, and then you'll see that the content is now boxed, right? So the container really applies to a lot of the single post pages and also the archive pages. So next, let's talk about the actual page settings right here. Now this only applies if you're not using a page builder. So if you're not using Elementor and you're only using something like Gutenberg, then this option can be useful. If you're using Elementor, then Elementor controls the size of the page. So there's really no need for this setting. But for those of you who are not using a page builder, this can be useful. So I'll click on page right here. Now I created this page and I just added in some general content, and this is not using Elementor. So right here, we're inheriting the full width style. However, if I click on boxed, you will now see that all the content will be in the center right here. So basically we're not going to use these outside parts because we're only using it as a box layout. We can also do full width. And then also we have custom here. So with a custom width, you can actually set the width of the page to whatever you want, right? So we did, make these pre-style options for you. But if you want to make this like a really small boxed website, then all the content will be displayed right here, right? So yeah, this only applies for pages where you're not using the Elementor page builder. Okay, now another feature that we have is the scroll to top. So right here under features, I'll click on scroll to top and I'll show this icon. And what this does is it adds a little icon on the bottom right side. Here, I'll change the color to black so we can see it. Okay, now if I scroll down, you're gonna see that this icon appears right here. And this is where you can adjust the icon, you can change the color, and also the size of the actual icon as well. And when users scroll down and they click on this icon, it'll bring them back to the top of the websites. So that's one thing you can always add if you want that option on your websites. And the last option is the core options. Now, let's say, for example, you want to assign a specific page as your actual homepage. So here I have zerotesting.com, and let's say you want to assign a different homepage. Here under the homepage, you can go ahead and maybe select the About Us page. And now the About Us page is now your new homepage. So when users enter in your URL, they will then be brought to the About Us page as their homepage. You also need to select a static page just to make sure that the About page is available. Because if you select latest post, you'll see that it no longer displays, right? And now all of the posts are your typical homepage. I'm not really sure why WordPress did this, but yeah, I'll select static page and then I'll select the homepage as my actual homepage. Now for the post page, all of your blog posts will be displayed on your actual blog page. So all of the blog posts that we create will be available on the actual blog page. So click on blog, and here is our actual post page where all of the blog posts show up. All right, so let's go ahead and click on publish. And that is pretty much it for the theme customizer. If you do have any questions about the theme customizer, we actually have documentation on our website, but that is a general rundown of the Solace theme customizer. Okay, so in this part of the video, I'm gonna walk you through how to create pages and also how to add them to the menu. Now, when you import starter templates from various WordPress themes, they create pages for you automatically, and they also create your own menu for you as well. You can always delete the pages and create your own pages from scratch if you wanna go that route. So in this part of the video, I'll walk you through how to create pages and also how to adjust your menu. Next, let me explain how to create pages and also how to add them to the menu. So let's say, for instance, you want to create a page, right? Let's go to our dashboard here. And over here under pages, I'll click on all pages. So here's a list of all of our pages, right? Now, any page you want to delete, you can just go ahead and click on trash, and this will actually delete the page. Now, it's not really deleted yet. It's in the trash, and then you'll have to empty the trash. So if I click on trash, you can always restore these pages, or you can delete permanently. Okay, so I deleted that page. So this is a list of all of the pages on our websites. Now let's say you want to add a new page. Here I'll click on add a new page, and this will be new page. Here I'll click on publish and publish. And of course, you can use Elementor on this page and fully design it. So I'll just quickly add some content to it. So I'll go ahead and just use AI and just select this page here and use this layout. I'll click on publish, and then I'll go ahead and assign this to our menu. So let's go back to our dashboard. So now we have our new page right here. Now we need to assign it to the menu. So to do that, let's go over here to appearance and click on menus. The first thing I'll do is select a menu. So here we have the primary menu. I'll click on select. Now here's a list of all of our pages. Now if you want to assign a page to the menu, all you got to do is click on the actual page and then click on add to menu. All right, and here's our page, and we can drag and drop it. You can also add in posts on your website. So if you want to add in a blog post on your actual menu, you can do that. You can also add in custom links. Custom links are just links that you can link people to your Pinterest or to your Twitter or to any type of website you want. So for example, I'll just put my website here. And then for the link text, I'll put Daryl's website. Here, click on add menu. And then you'll see we have this custom link right here. So I'll just go ahead and put this up here, right? Close that. We also have categories. Now these are blog categories. So you can just go ahead and add in some blog categories to your menu if you want to go that route. But I like this menu, so I'll go ahead and click on save menu. And now let's take a look at our website. So here's the new page. And if I click on new page, you'll see it takes them to that page that we created using AI. Also, if I click on this Daryl's website, remember this is a custom link. So this is going to take me to my personal website, and voila, it takes me to my beautiful WordPress website. So that is pretty much it for the Elementor tutorial. If you do have any questions about Elementor, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Now I will be having a pro tutorial that talks about all the pro elements a little bit later, so make sure to check for that video in the description. With that said, let's go ahead and go on to the next section. And then going to my email, you'll see that we received the email right here. So I'll click on the email and voila, here it is. Now, I'll be honest with you all, sometimes this does not deliver to people's inboxes. This is a very common problem with WordPress. If you ever do not receive this email, all you have to do is install an SMTP plugin. I have a video right here that'll show you how to do that. You'll see that a lot of people liked it. It's a very easy thing to get started with. So you can do this with a free plugin. Also, if you do want to actually connect your website with Gmail, like you want to use your business email with Gmail, you can also watch this video. It's completely free. It takes about 5 minutes to set up. And I'll go ahead and leave these videos for you in the description of this video. Okay, so in this part of the video, I'm gonna walk you through the Hostinger dashboard. There's several things that you can do here. You can run speed tests, you can check for malware. More importantly, you can create free business emails for your new WordPress websites. So I'll walk you through all the options in the Hostinger dashboard, and we're gonna create some free business emails for your new WordPress websites. Y'all ready? Let's go. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about the Hostinger panel right here. There's a lot you can do from the Hostinger panel. Now, the first thing is, let's click on websites. Here you'll see a performance of your websites. You can log in, and you can also click on the dashboard section, and this will give you more information about your current domain. You'll see that we have a 100% page speed score. Our website is safe from malware. And yeah, this is just a general overview about your websites. Here I'll click on WordPress overview. So here you have a few more options. You can actually put your website in maintenance mode. If you don't want people to see your website, you'll click on this, and then this will put an under construction page on your website. But I'll go ahead and turn this off for now. So one other option that people use sometimes is the flushing cache. Sometimes when you're working on your website, you might not see the changes apply on your website, and that's just because you need to clear the cache. So if you ever want to clear your cache manually, you'll just click on flush cache, and then that clears all the cache from your websites. Now on the left side right here, we also have staging. If you ever want to work on a staging environment, Hostinger's made a really simple staging environment. So all you got to do is click on create staging. This will be testing. Then I'll click on create. Here I'll click on close. So now it's creating a staging environment for us. So I'll go ahead and come back to that. So the staging is now available, and what staging does is it allows you to update your website without actually influencing the main page. So for example, I'll click on manage staging, and then I'll access the admin panel. So now at the top, you'll see testing at your domain, and this virtually allows you to work on your website with complete freedom. So let's say, for instance, I wanted to maybe change the landing page, right? So let's say, for example, you wanted to build your websites with complete freedom. Here I went ahead and I changed the landing page, and maybe we can change the title, and you can fully change your websites, and this only applies in the testing environments. Now, once you decide, hey, I like this website, I want to actually push this now to our main domain, you can do that from Hostinger. So I'll go ahead and publish this. All right, so once that's done, I'll then go back to our staging dashboard here, and now we can push this to our real websites. So I'll click on back. And where I have these 3 dots right here, I'll click on the 3 dots, and then I'll click on publish. Now what this is gonna do, it's gonna take our entire website in our staging area, and it's gonna convert it to our real live websites. This is used just because you don't wanna be editing the website when you have live visitors, right? It's kind of embarrassing, right? So here I'll click on the 3 dots, and I'll click on publish. Now it's gonna replace your entire website, so they're just letting you know that. So just be certain that the website is the way you want it to look. Here I'll click on publish, and it'll take up to 15 minutes to replace our current websites. So I'll click on close. So the next option is the analytics right here. This lets you know who is visiting your website and from what IP addresses. So you'll see IP addresses, and you'll see countries, and you'll see a list of your requests, IPs, and also bandwidth that you're using. Now let's go ahead and talk about business emails. Right here, I'll click on emails, and I'll click on email accounts. So you can create free business emails with Hostinger. So right here, click on setup, and we'll select our domain, and then I'll click on confirm. So we'll go ahead and select the Hostinger free option. Here I'll click on select, and then you'll create a free business email, and then you'll put in the name of your new business email. So mine is admin@darylsatoro.com. We put our password, and then I'll click on create. All right, so it's created. I'll click on skip. So then it created our accounts. Now to access your accounts, right here, you'll click on email accounts. And then here is your email. And you can create up to 100 free business emails per domain. So if you want to make another one, you would just click on the plus and then create another one. To access your webmail, all you're going to do is click on webmail here, and this will log you into the webmail. Here I'll put in my password, and then I'll click on login. And this is your new business email. Now you can actually send and receive emails from your business email. If you want to learn how to connect this with Gmail, I do have another tutorial in the description, and you can check that out if you want to link this with your Gmail account. All right, now to go back to the main options, I'll click on main menu and click on websites. And then we'll go back to the dashboard for our domain. Now the last important option is the domains. So I'll click on domains right here, and then I'll click on subdomains. So you can create a subdomain for your website. This typically is used for like support. So if you have like a support form or something, you can create a subdomain. So this will be like help. And then I'll click on create. Now a subdomain is typically a new website, but it's kind of like a separate website linked to your main websites. If you want to install WordPress onto this new subdomain, you'll go back here to WordPress, click on overview. If you want to install WordPress onto your new subdomain, you can go ahead and do that by going over here to the website section. And now you're going to see that you have a new website here, but this is more of a subdomain linked to your main domain. So over here, I'll click on dashboard. And I'll click on WordPress overview. And then we're going to scroll down, and here you'll see install another WordPress. If I click on install, you'll then enter the credentials for your new subdomain, but you need to select it. So I'll go ahead and just put something here really quick. And for the advanced section, you'll now see that you can install a new installation right here under your new subdomain. And essentially, this is going to be a brand new website, and it's just a subdomain of your current websites. So I'll click on next, and then I'll install a fresh installation of WordPress onto this new subdomain. Okay, and once that's done, we can now go ahead and select our subdomain, and then we can log into the website. And just like that, we now have a brand new website using our subdomain. You'll see it's a blank installation of WordPress, but you will now see that this is our new subdomain. So that's how you can create subdomains using the hosting or dashboard. And lastly, going back to the staging, you will now see that it's completed. So if we go to our websites and I refresh this page, it's going to now import the staging area onto the live websites. So I'll refresh the page. And then you'll see we have that gray screen as we created previously on the staging area. So that's how you can also create staging areas and push them to your live websites. Now, the very last thing that we're going to talk about before I let you all go is how to switch between templates. So going back over here to Solace, if you ever want to switch between demos, all you have to do is just go ahead and go to the same process right here. So you'll just go ahead and pick a random templates like the Credo. This is actually a beautiful portfolio layout. I actually have another video on it. It's really, really good. So you can go ahead and select the color palette right here, like maybe like red. And all you'll do here is click on delete previously imported sites and then click on continue. Now this is going to replace your current website with this demo. So once you select the demo, you'll then click on skip this step. Okay, so now it's going to import our website. All right, so the import's complete. I'll then click on check website. And just like that, we now have the beautiful Credo layout on your websites. Now, I just want to let you all know that here, let's go ahead and take a look at all pages. So it doesn't actually delete your old website. It just takes them off the menu and it puts them in the pages section. So if you want to go ahead and delete those pages, you'll just go ahead and have to click on the pages and delete them. But it doesn't completely delete all of your old work. It just takes them off the menu. So with that said, congratulations on your new WordPress website. I hope you like this tutorial, enjoy the theme, and until then, I'll see you guys later. All right, party people, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have any questions about WordPress or Elementor, let me know in the comments below. Also, I will be making an Elementor Pro tutorial very soon. So for those of you who are using the free version of Elementor and you want to upgrade to the Pro, I will have an in-depth tutorial for those of you who want to upgrade to the Pro version. So make sure to check the video description. My name is Daryl Wilson, and I'll see all of you party people in the next video. Take care.